Right, this is angry Nathan. Rugby's broken. And I think as somebody who played the sport for over 10 years and coached and got to witness everything good about it,
I never thought we'd hit this hard. It's not right.
I mean, the game is on at the moment, so I probably shouldn't show that too much because I might get somebody in the comments going, it's copyright strike and all that crap. But, the big problem, as I'm going to put literally right in the fucking thumbnail so everyone can see, anyone who understands rugby, anyone who's played it, anyone who knows what I'm going to say, the breakdown. And what that means, and I'll edit this in, for the last few years, almost, I want to say 10 years was what, 2014, so I guess, yeah, probably the last 10 years, we've had this obsession with fancy play, kicking, rushing, attractive style of rugby, the way that New Zealand play, the way that Australia play, the way that they play overseas. And if you've ever been lucky enough to see it, it's fantastic. It is amazing. But, it's the old Moneyball story. If you try to play like your opponent, you're going to get crushed. And it's the same in football. It's the same in, if you try to play like Man City, you're going to get absolutely fucking obliterated. And if you are a coach, if you've ever done any kind of coaching, that is literally the basic. You should know that. And one of the most frustrating, I think it's all kicking off at the moment. Yeah, they're all fighting. Harlequins are not going to win this. But one of the most frustrating things that I have witnessed, I saw it a lot in the World Cup. I see it every Six Nations now. We've just had the Six Nations just go. Is that nobody, I don't know whether it's specifically done. I don't know whether it's coached. I don't know whether it's taught. I know for a fact that the game of rugby is not looked at from a grassroots point of view, having coached myself, and I know that I know a lot of people in the RFU, quite high up, all the way down to a low level, that there is a big problem, but that's another conversation that we can focus on. A simple thing like the breakdown, and if you know what that is, so the breakdown is, so when somebody gets tackled, so when you see somebody running on TV, or when you see somebody, when they get the ball and it all looks really nice and good, and they play wide attacking rugby, when that stops, because people forget, you might hear commentators say this as well, people forget rugby is a, contact sport. You have to make contact, you have to tackle. So eventually there's going to be contact. There's going to be one person running into another person. So when that happens, the breakdown happens. And this has been a mess for, as I said, the last 10 years. Because whether it's not coached properly or it's not worked on properly, it's definitely not worked on properly here in England. Watching the game at the moment, the reason why European teams, especially French teams, are excellent at it is because they focus on grassroots. They invest from youngsters all the way up to professional. and they work on their structure from a country, from a wider perspective, and they work on the basics, and they work on everything, not just kicking, from the breakdown, from tackling, from attacking, from defensing. You know, everything is worked on. England, and you know, I'm lucky enough to remember post 2003 to now. 2003 was probably the best and our best era, but before that, rugby as a whole, the RFU, was in a really bad place. And there's a really good documentary on it called Building Jerusalem, if you ever watched it. But this obsession with playing attractive rugby and kicking, and it's almost like tennis. You know, you have it, we have it. You have it, we have it. You have it, we have it. And even people who haven't played rugby or aren't even obsessed or like sport, they, you know, friends of mine, people I know, they will watch it when it's on telly and they'll go, what is this? This is boring. Because that's what we've turned it into. And the reality of it is, and I know there's the conversation that people don't want to have, and this is why we're kind of in a strange moment, you know, a strange place at the moment, because as I said earlier, rugby is a contact sport. And so the breakdown, the highlight of this vlog, I don't know whether it's rugby trying to get away from it because they're trying to make it a non-contact sport. That's an interesting thought, I don't know. But or whether they're just trying to make the breakdown a different kind of breakdown. But for the last few years, the breakdown has been completely ignored. And if you ever played sevens, if you ever played sevens rugby, very high paced, fitness is a must. You know, they have international sevens, they have lots of different tournaments. If you've ever played touch, if you've ever played beach rugby, it's from a rugby perspective, the game is the same. It's the same as what you see. But exactly what I just said, the tackling, you know, one into another, and the actual breakdown, and this is what all the old school rugby players like, because what we're seeing at the moment with the modern game, and I'll put that as the title, the modern game, we're taking it away, because the big guys, that's their job. You have 15 players on the pitch. So what is the game going to be when you have 15 players on the pitch and half of them can't even do their job if they're not allowed? You know, I've seen a minute ago a guy get sent off from a Harlequins player because he goes into the breakdown to take somebody out. But that's his job. That's the breakdown. So this is just becoming an angry rant. So the question is, I don't understand rugby anymore. Even though I watch it, and even though I played for over 10 years, and all of it is on my YouTube channel. You know, I play for lots of different clubs, and it's all there. And I've coached as well. And even as an ex-player and a coach, I can watch it there on my telly on a Sunday, relaxing. And even decisions in the modern game in 2024, and we're reaching 10 minutes now, so I'm going to stop. In the modern game in 2024, I can be confused. I'm so confused. And I think, you know, I could talk for ages about this, but the only nice thing about this today is that the mainstream with rugby is so much different to the mainstream with football. The commentators are a bit more, clued into what's going on. The rugby world, if you've ever played and if you've experienced it, we're not as, I don't want to use a rude word or snobbery, but we're a bit more realistic with the sport and what happens and what goes on. So even though the sport might be changing, rugby might be changing, in between halves and in between decisions and in between what's going on, you still get the banter, you still get the realism, you still get the jokes, you still get the conversation, you still get all of that. And I think that is massively important because, evolution happens, sports change, all of that stuff, but that went a long time ago in football. That went a long time ago in lots of different things. If that goes from a grassroots point of view in rugby and overall, then rugby has a really big problem, because I'm speaking on a bigger level now, but the breakdown issue, which is what we started with, that is a big problem. And not just in the Harlequins game that's happening at the moment. The Six Nations this year, the World Cup last year, I mean, there's the whole issue of why are we kicking so much? The officials, the cards as well. Look, I played and coached rugby, but this is ridiculous. I mean, I published something on my channel, how many yellow and red cards were issued 10 years ago, so 2014. Only, I think, 3 overall in the Six Nations. Only 3 red cards. And I think there were like 10. So it's, and there's almost double every game now. So that's a conversation to have, but I don't want to go into that now. This is about the breakdown, and this is about a real aspect of the game that is being ignored, because I don't know why. I don't know why people and professional players as well, I don't know why they are not doing it. I know from my point of view, when I've been in a team, you might want to play quickly, you might want to get the ball wide, you might want to score a try, but it's an 80-minute game. Like, go through the phases, play the ball, just go through the motions, and be patient. Like, something that Sir Clive and his 2003 team, something that whole thing stuck with me, not only as a player but also a coach, is that he did going through the motions better than anyone. And it's not just, the drop goals and, taking 3 points when you needed to, but it was also the basics, as I said, like the breakdown, tackling, playing as a team, doing the hard stuff, the messy stuff. And that wouldn't happen now, because everyone is so obsessed with this fancy, wide, kicking game that we only kind of see on YouTube clips. And I know that sounds ridiculous and it sounds like somebody just ranting, but it's true. If you actually watch an 80-minute game of rugby nowadays, there's a lot of holes in it. Or if you go watch, a local game. And also it's a very different perspective if you played and coached as well. And that's why I'm just making this, because people need to speak up about it. People need to talk about it, because rugby as a sport it's on its arse. It's desperate for money. It's desperate for funding, and it's desperate for views and sponsorship. And I think the reason why nobody's talking about these kind of problems from a game, from a actual sport point of view, is because they're so desperate for people to watch it, is that they don't care. You know, that's why they struck a deal with Netflix. You know, that's why they are on TikTok all the time. But yeah, the breakdown. Anyway, I'm gonna try and watch the last few minutes of this game and see if Harlequins can pull it back. No, it's over. But anyway, that's it. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned. If there are any old-fashioned players and coaches out there, I just think the reason, and this is important as a message, I know a lot of players, and I know a lot of people who, not just, you know, from a behind the scenes point of view, but also people who are playing at quite a good level and coaching, they're struggling with mental health. They're struggling with losing. They're struggling with the negativity. You know, you got to sort the basics out. You got to sort all of the structure and the basic. It's like building a house. It's like building a puzzle. And rugby at the moment, it's got the really nice bits at the top, but it's got none of the bottom bits. And if you're a player in the game, you know, Marcus Smith at the moment, fantastic young player, but I wouldn't want to be a young player at the moment in rugby. I was lucky enough to be a young player at a good time at the moment, back in a few years ago, but, you know, you can see why the likes of Owen Farrell has taken a step backwards. You can see why Reece Samet has gone to the NFL, because, you know, they're probably aware of it more than anyone, like myself, and somebody's probably said in their ear, just, it might be worth doing this. And I think not just me, but more people need to actually get this out in the open, because me making a video about the breakdown is not enough. I think we all love rugby. I mean, that's a basic, but getting it back to how it was is the most important thing. And I think maybe that's a bit nostalgic, I don't know, but